Good morning, everyone. All right, I've got 10:05, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. We'll get started. Appreciate everybody joining us this morning. We've had a lot of movement on things. I think things are starting to come together, albeit I wish they had come together a long time ago. I think it's just been a lot of the confusion and changes that have surrounded the program that have caused the delays. So bear with us. That's I think I said this the last meeting that we are no farther behind than any of the rest of the state on this. Everybody has been struggling just like we have with trying to figure a lot of things out. So we'll get through it just as well as anyone else, I believe. I mentioned that the last meeting 2 weeks ago that there was this new directive email came out that any project funded under this second round of development, they have to be under contract. That's bid out. That's signed contracts with a contractor obligating the community to pay that contractor to build the project. That's what I mean by under contract by September 30th of 2024. That's 1 year and 1 day from today. So that's going to knock a lot of projects out of contention. And the planners know this. We've had candid conversations with them about some of this. And there may be opportunities for other money for some of the projects that have been at least explored for possible consideration under this program. But the last thing we want to do is submit projects that can't fit that timeline and have an unsuccessful application. We want to make sure the projects that are selected can meet that deadline and move forward. And we have a good appearance to the state of Ohio that we can manage these funds appropriately. So if your project doesn't make it, it's not the end of the world. I think I spoke of some other money the last time that may be coming available that you might want to look at, and we are ready and willing to help you find other resources if need be for your projects. There probably aren't going to be 500 million sitting around, but it might be a matter of taking on projects at a smaller scale. Might take more years to make them happen, but we will try to help you if we can. One of the things with this new deadline is some of the projects are larger, and the planners have reached out to the state and they've said, we can't get it designed, bid, and under contract by September 30th of 24 unless we can continue working on design now, meaning September 29th. And they're going to shortly run out of funds to do that. There is an opportunity for the planners to receive that additional money to continue working if they need it, if they need that for certain projects. Not every project needs this, but the planners know way better than me or Ken. And so I can't sit here today and tell you this project, yes, they need to ask. No, you need to talk to your planners. We've reached out to them. We've told them we need to know if you have a need for additional resources to push forward this project that may be part of a application. If you need to have additional planning dollars, that request has to be into us by next Tuesday, October the 3rd, to share with the state of Ohio, so that and we'll pass that on through the lead applicants, and I'll talk about those here in a moment. But it's a short timeline because that money, to get this all approved, it has to go through controlling board. So again, Ken has reached out to the planners for that information. But if you're concerned, you may want to reach out to your planner and say, hey, to get my project moving forward, are you going to have to ask for additional funds between now and March for my project? And if they say yes, then you probably should encourage them to get us something by October the 3rd. It needs to come from the planner to us, and we'll get that to the potential lead applicants. And again, I want to say not all projects is that going to be necessary for. This is probably for larger projects that have a lot of design, a lot of pre-studies that need to be done. This isn't everybody, so don't go into a panic here. This is not a panic thing. This is more for your very large projects that might take a little more design to get to that implementation stage. Okay, I think that's it on that piece. We do have lead applicants in our region here, and I have a list of 8 potential. I think I've been saying 7, but then I looked at my list and it's 8. I'm going to name a few of those off. We've talked to them, Ken and I, and one is the Ironton Lawrence Community Action Organization in Lawrence County, Ohio. And they are taking on lead applicant responsibilities, and we're working with them. They have several communities and organizations that they're already working with, but they are looking for potentially other projects to bring into their application. I will tell you, they are looking for projects that fit the theme of their application. And I could try to describe what it is, but I don't want to put words in their mouth. So give me a chance here and I'll tell you what we're doing to help them identify what projects they want to add to their application here in a moment. Another lead applicant is going to be Ross County, Chillicothe. And same thing, they're not as far ahead as the Ironton Lawrence group is. They're looking for groups to join in on that application, but they are going to take a lead applicant role. I think I'm at liberty to say this. They asked us 2 weeks ago if we would put their name out there, but we have a meeting with them this afternoon to talk more details. And that is the Pike County Community Action Organization. They have said they potentially would like to be a lead applicant. So Ken and I are meeting with them this afternoon to talk a little more details on that. And we'll further tell you more about that. Another group is the Outdoor Recreation. Want to make sure I said Outdoor Recreation Council of Appalachia. They're in the Buckeye Hills region, and it's a council of governments. I think they're in Athens located, and they are willing to be the lead applicant. They were a lead applicant for a round 1 application. They were the 4th project that was funded and in priority. And if you'll recall, there was only 50 million available. Their budget got cut because the 3 ahead of them had requested enough that they did not get their full project funded. So I think some of their focus on their application is to go in and try to get the rest of the money they originally had put in for. But I think they're looking for new partners as well, if those partners would work with their theme of their project. We have 2 others. I'm not going to mention them by name, but the focus of those projects, and I will say this, if they are on here today and they want to speak up and say, well, that's us, I'll let you. But they are going to focus on small communities. There's some concern by some that some of the smaller communities might be left out, and they're looking at putting together a regional project of small communities, small projects that would be tied to a theme of rural development. And we have one other county that wants to be a lead applicant. Again, we have a conversation with them this afternoon, and the last word we heard was they might end up backing off of that and joining in with one of the lead applicants that's already been mentioned. So this thing has some twists and turns, just like always, but things are being negotiated out and figured out here as we move along. And then we have another lead applicant that has we've gotten indirect confirmation that they want to be a lead applicant. We have not had a chance to talk to them. Ken and I have had a very busy week this week, sorting all this out. Next week's not probably going to get any better, so we're going to be busy. So again, I won't name them, but we will talk. We will probably set up something with them next week to talk to them about what their expectations are and go from there. Now, what we are going to do is we have a spreadsheet. This was developed a while back, and I've sent it to him. I've cleaned it up a little bit, and he's going to clean it up further. And we're going to send that spreadsheet to the lead applicants. Anyone that wants to be a lead applicant, that's going to have projects from our region on it and descriptions. Was put together by the planners. It has the description of your project, what you're wanting to do. And the lead applicants, they're going to say, this sounds like this fits into our theme and what we're wanting to do with our project. Geographically, this makes sense. It pairs up well with us. If they don't know your community, Ken and or I will make sure that we set up a Zoom meeting, telephone call, whatever you want to do to make that connection between lead applicant and the community. So that's where we're going to be busy, is really, I've said this before, I told you guys a long time ago, we're going to be in a role of matchmaking. So it's almost as if, or it's not almost, it is this. If the community's interested in partnering with the lead applicant, that's good. But the lead applicant's got to be interested in partnering with you. And they're going to hold the strings here, because they're the applicant. They're going to say, here's who we want in, here's who we don't want in. So it's got to be a two-way mutual agreement that you want to be partnering on an application, that your project would be included. So I would ask you not to bug those folks to death. I've named some of them. Let us, that spreadsheet will be going out to them today. And we just got some fine tuning Ken and I do on it to do. And then once that spreadsheet's out to the lead applicants, that's when we'll start next week putting some of this together, figuring out what the who's going to be in applications together. One thing I do want to mention about the lead applicants, several of these are going to be multi-local development district. These are not OVRDC centric applications. These projects, I should say, these applications are going to encompass both the OVRDC and Buckeye Hills region. And one of those, for the small communities, might expand beyond that even. I can't say they will, but there's always that possibility that they might even reach farther into the northern Appalachia region. But for our purposes, two of our major ones that I announced earlier, they're going to be multi-local development districts. So you're talking about projects that go up into Washington and Noble County, potentially all the way down into Claremont County. So pretty big, vast array, but it'd be two applications, but multi-LDD focused. And I was asked, I had a text from somebody that asked that they had heard, let me get the exact ask. Heard that funds are highly unlikely to be granted for privately owned projects, and would I speak on that? I think that's the words of one planner, and opinion. I will not totally disagree with that planner. This program has always been set up, the applicants have to be nonprofits or political subdivisions of Ohio, or educational institutions. There's no private business that's eligible for this money. Private buildings could be rehabbed as part of a project if you've got a end user and if you've got they know what they want to use that project, that building for. In a lot of cases, I don't think communities know who that is. That's just my opinion, and I think it's going to be a hard sell. I think it is going to be an uphill battle. So if you're a community and you say, well, we'd like to rehab the old whatever building, if you don't have somebody that's saying we're going to come in there and open a restaurant, or we're going to come in there and open up a small store, whatever, and you want to do rehab of that building, it's not going to happen in this program. The other thing I got to go back to is that September 30th of 24. You better have that lease agreement already in hand and chomping at the bit to get started on this, because if you're trying to do it on speculation, I don't think there's much chance. I've actually heard a lot of conversations that there's probably one project that people know about that actually fits that, and it's not even in the OVRDC region, where they've got a building and there's already some work being done on about that building, getting it occupied, and that all started out before this program became available. So I'm not going to say universally that that cannot happen, but I think it's a heavy lift. I think it's a very heavy lift. And Ken, your thoughts on that, perhaps?
Yes, I don't think the lead applicants are going to include a project in their application unless there are agreements already in place. They want to see things in writing, not just a verbal, maybe this, sample leases, written commitments from businesses and other parties. Just like the subrecipient agreements or beneficiary agreements are going to be part of the application. The lead applicants are really going to want to nail these things down and make sure it's a good, solid, ready to go. Everything's figured out. Commitments are made already. I know it's a short time frame, but those commitments have to be pretty much etched in stone to make it into an application.
And if you think about what Ken said, makes a lot of sense. The state didn't create this program for you all to go out and drum up private interest into buildings and say that's eligible. They're willing to fund those very things when those were already in the works before this program became available. So think of it that way. If you're trying to just now drum up interest, that's probably not going to fly because you don't have the time to make it happen. But if there was things in the works, and that's the way I would look at it, is if something was in the works prior to this money becoming available last July 1, and you're moving ahead on it and things look good, maybe that private development fits. But if it does not preclude, if it's just something you thought of last week, I'd say don't muddy the waters. We need to have, there is enough good request for this money that we don't need to muddy the waters with something that's speculative. And I don't think any lead applicant will let that happen. They want to win. They're not applying to lose, and they're not going to put losing propositions in their application. That is all I have today, folks, unless if there are questions, then I would be willing to entertain any questions.
John.
Yes.
Ralph Klein. Listen, with regards to the statement, where you're getting the planner's additional request to get additional funds to take them to meet the deadlines, I think the planners need to be aware that when they put those requests in, it's only through February, and it is less than the funds that's already been allocated towards them. And they've got to have some kind of basis or reason about it. If they are huge requests, then they would, I think, need to break down in detail, the various steps, products, a number of hours that they're going to be looking at in order to put together, because I don't think it's just going to be a blank slate taking it to the state.
Thank you, Ralph, for clarifying that. If I did not say that, yes, he's very right. The planner's only requesting money from now till the end of February, what they would need, because they're hoping that the grants will be approved, the applications will be approved by March, and then the money in those applications would help the engineering firms that procured planners continue design after that date when they're approved, whenever the controlling board approves them. So that's key, is don't look at the best way I can say that is don't let this be looked upon as a money grab. They need to be frugal about what they ask for, and only those projects where they really need it, not just every project. If it's a smaller project and they can design it between March and get it bid out and under contract by October, those projects we don't want to be asking that for. Too much of a request is going to sour on the state's end. If we put in too big of a request, you can forget it. It's not going to happen. So people need to be realistic with this. Don't panic. John Stabler, you said, can the list be put out in here? What list are you speaking of, sir?
As you were going over the lead applicants, my audio cut out a couple of times. I got Ross, Chillicothe, Elkoa, Pike, Orca, Vinton County, and then I missed a couple. I thought you had two others.
ILCAO, Ross County, Chillicothe,
yeah,
Pike County Community Action, the Outdoor Recreation Council of Appalachia, and then there's two that are focused on small villages and small projects. I didn't name those because I think that those two might end up combining forces. I'm not saying they're going to, but I do think it's ill-advised that you have two projects that look like that. I think those two groups might want to think about combining forces. And then there's one other county in our region that's talking about being a lead applicant, but we have a conversation with them this afternoon, and that we've already been told they've been approached about maybe not doing that and joining one of the others we just talked about. And then we have one that we've yet to speak with. It come out of nowhere, kind of. So we haven't had a chance to really sit down with that group. We haven't had any communication. Well, Ken talked to him one time, I should say. So outside of that, they're new in our sphere. So
I appreciate it. I thought because my audio cut out and I thought I missed it. I appreciate it.
And as it said on here, one of the rural county focused lead applicants is Vinton County, but there's another group that is looking at potentially they're looking at doing something very similar. So we've mentioned to both groups, you guys might want to think about working together, one dropping out, the other, they'll figure that amongst themselves, but we're just pointing them together to see if there's some synergy that they can work out to work on the same focus. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I don't want to take up any more of your time. Like I said, things are starting to come together. I will repeat with all that I did say, with all the different lead applicants, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure, I can't speak fully for my sister organization, but Buckeye Hills Regional Council, which is our next door neighbor development district, they are not intending to be a lead applicant, nor is OVRDC. I said this last time, I'll repeat it in case anybody didn't hear it. I think it looks bad on OVRDC to be a lead applicant and compete against entities that are members of OVRDC. I would not want to compete against Vinton County. I would not want to compete against ILCAO. I would not want to compete against Ross County, Chillicothe. These are all members, and there's a few others within there that I haven't mentioned that are potential. And if they are applying, I don't want to be in a position of competing against them. I just think it has a bad look. I will say that the other two local development districts in Ohio, Omega, which is the Ohio Mideastern Governments Association in Cambridge, and the Eastgate Council of Governments up in Youngstown, they are going to act in the capacity of lead applicants for their regions. But we have determined we do not want to go into that sphere. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that we have capable lead applicants stepping up locally. We were always willing to do it if we needed to, but I do appreciate the ones that have stepped up to do this, and try to make a difference in our region by doing so. So thank you to all of you that are considering it, whether you do it or not. I appreciate that. Well, everybody have a great weekend, and you probably will be hearing a lot over the next couple of weeks here from either Ken or I, lead applicants. Be talking to your planner, find out if they are going to need those additional resources, as we said, but remember to keep that practical. We can't go in with 10 million in requests for additional planning, or we're going to get shot down. And I guess my point is, don't be greedy about it. I think Ralph's point is if you didn't listen to anything said by me, listen to what Ralph just said a few moments ago. That was key for that.
And don't hesitate to call or email me with any kind of questions. If you want a more nuanced discussion on who's doing what, feel free to reach out, contact me, and I'll share with you what I know about who's doing what where. Because our goal is to get as many OVRDC projects and as many good competitive development applications as we can. So we want to find a home for all our good, viable projects.
Correct. Jessica put in the chat, Jessica Keaton with the ILCAO said, anyone interested in the ILCAO being a part of their project, they have a short document that they can share. Basically, some of you may not know who ILCAO is. They're a community action organization for Ironton, for Lawrence County and City of Ironton. And they can provide that to you so they can better describe why you might want to join them in their application. And I think Ross County, City of Chillicothe are working on one, and then I think Vinton County has one as well for their project. I just saw it this morning. So we'll try to get everybody linked up together. And if you want to join forces with those communities, those applicants, lead applicants, we'll try to, like I said, we'll try to set you up with them and make the relationships happen. So see, you guys have to take it from there. So, all right, again, have a great weekend. Appreciate everybody's time this morning, and keep moving along.